Blasphemy. And we have reached the blasphemy of the heart. So it's called here in the title, Blasphemy of the Heart, to be most encompassing. As is mentioned here, the heart is the place of convictions. So it is called in books of the Sheikh, blasphemy of i'tiqad, of conviction. Conviction is what you lock into your heart as a creed. But not all of the blasphemy in the heart is truly a creed. Could be something else, such as an intention or a decision, which intention and decision are practically the same thing. If it could be said there's a difference between the intention and the decision, then what's intended here is how Ash-Shafi'i said the intention is with the deed, and that's the niyyah, and the azm is before the deed, that's then the decision to do something before you do it. The intention, the niyyah, according to Ash-Shafi'i, goes along with the deed while you're doing the deed. That's called niyyah, and the azm is what you have in your heart before you do the deed, so it's translated here as decision. But for all intents and purposes, those are the same thing. I'm going to use them like I just told you, though, with that difference in mind. And what's in the heart could be a doubt. So the title was called Blasphemy of the Heart, to be most encompassing, not just blasphemy of convictions, for example. But that's what the Shaykh calls it. Al-Kufru al-i'tiqadi, the blasphemous conviction. Rahimahullah. So the heart is the place of convictions, intentions, decisions, doubts, and other matters. Wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And this is the blasphemy that is hidden from the people. The blasphemy of the heart, it is hidden. One can only be deemed a blasphemer, that means by another, by some other one. He could only be deemed as a blasphemer by another by what he says or does, because that's what appears. The sayings appear and the actions appear. Then we will deem a person as a kafir for his saying of blasphemy or his action of blasphemy, and we are unable to deem him as a kafir for his conviction of blasphemy, with the meaning of not being able to detect it. So, footnote here, the heart is the place of convictions. Blasphemous convictions include belying, degrading, or blemishing the attributes of a prophet, and believing in a new prophet after Muhammad, and denying the prophethood or the message of all, or denying the prophethood or the message of a prophet recognized by all Muslims. I'm not really satisfied with this footnote here. The blasphemous conviction, belying as a conviction means believing in the lack of the attributes of the prophets. Belying the attributes of the prophets. Also, degrading the attributes of a prophet, degrading a prophet, belying a prophet, belying a prophet, degrading a prophet, or blemishing the attributes of a prophet. So it should say, first of all, should say belying or degrading a prophet. That's the first thing. Then, or blemishing one of his attributes, the attributes of a prophet. But we're talking convictions here. So, belying if I want to chop this down as much as possible, this belying a prophet goes in the previous section of blasphemy here, which is what? Belying. Belying the religion has its own chapter. We're separating that here from a conviction. Degrading a prophet, degrading also has another type of blasphemy. This one here, sacrilege, the blasphemy of disrespect, which is coming. So, yeah, those are blasphemies of the heart. That belying in the heart without it being by the tongue, that would be a blasphemy of the heart. That degrading in the heart, that's a blasphemy of the heart. But it's a conviction or blemishing one of his attributes. So this belying a prophet, we have covered it already. We covered it in the previous section. I'm going to remove it from here, from this footnote. Now, degrading a prophet, before I remove it from this footnote, just want to see something here. So it's covered here. Degrading any of the messengers of Allah. And other examples of degrading a prophet, they are here. So I want to remove that from this footnote here. You know, I am still editing while I'm reading with you. It's review for me. And taking the opportunity to benefit myself and you also, and to finish the document for the Muslims, inshallah. So, blasphemy of the heart. Let's remove this degrading or blemishing one of the attributes of a prophet. And we can just settle with saying blasphemous convictions include believing in a new prophet after Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. New prophet means we're not talking about Prophet Isa coming after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's not a new prophet. His coming, his return is not believing in a new prophet. So that's not blasphemy. Believing in a new prophet is blasphemy. And denying the prophethood or the message of a prophet recognized by all Muslims, so just because trying to chop this down to its finest pieces, all these cases of blasphemy, I'm not really inclined to talk about denial in the chapter of conviction, in the section of conviction. I'd rather talk about denial in the section of denial. And the denial which you don't accept. Denying is disregarding, whereas the conviction is what you hold fast to. So I don't really want to mix those. Denying the prophethood and the message of a prophet recognized by all Muslims as a prophet. Tell you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to highlight this, what I just deleted. And I'm going to highlight this so I can come back to them and put them in a proper spot. Make sure I don't lose some information that I want to keep. So the heart is the place of convictions, intentions, decisions, doubts. Here's a footnote. As for the theologians, the slightest hesitation is a doubt. So hesitation, we're talking about creed here, not fiqh. So in terms of our creed, our conviction, we're equating doubt with hesitation, or hesitation with doubt, lack of certainty. It is blasphemy. Talk about lack of certainty in the matters that you must be certain about, the fundamental matters you must be certain about. As for, as opposed to the jurists, to them, doubt is equal uncertainty of confirmation or denial. As opposed to the jurists, to them, doubt is the equal uncertainty of confirmation or denial. Meaning, for the jurists, they talk about doubt differently than the theologians. Now we are in theology, creed, aqidah. We are not involved in fiqh right now. So when we say doubt, we don't mean what the jurists mean. The jurists mean a 50-50 possibility when they say doubt. The theologians mean anything less than 100%. Doubt, in terms of creed, is blasphemy. It's a broad term here. I'm not talking about doubting something khafi. Khafi. Remember what khafi means? Hidden. Hidden means is a matter of consensus, but not known in the religion by necessity. I'm not talking about that. Remember, you have 4 cases. 3 of them are blasphemy, and 1 of them is not blasphemy. You have certainty or certitude. Certitude or certainty is not blasphemy. That's faith. And then you have neutrality. Neutrality is not taking a position. That's blasphemy. And you have doubt. Doubt is hesitation. That's blasphemy. And you have denial. That's blasphemy. If you have a question, feel free, please. Don't let me say something that's not clear for you. So the heart is the place of convictions, intentions, decisions, doubts, and other matters. And this is the blasphemy that is hidden. Footnote. Allah said, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا جاءكم المؤمنات مهاجرات فامتحنوهن الله أعلم بإيمانهن فإن علمتموهن مؤمنات فلا ترجعوهن إلى الكفار. O you who have believed, when the believing women have come to you as immigrants, then test them. That means, O you believers in Medina, if some women ran away from Mecca to migrate to Medina, claiming they are believers, then test them. Yani, if you are not sure. Allahu a'lamu bi-imanihin. Allah knows best about their belief or their faith. فَإِنْ عَلِمْتُمُوهُنَّ مُؤْمِنَاتٍ. If you knew them to be believers, yani if you became convinced that they are believers, but how are you going to know in reality? You're going to think they are believers. Our knowing about each other that they are Muslims, you, and you, and you. In reality, we believe that the other one is a Muslim. Allah knows if he's a Muslim or not. Allah knows if he's a Muslim or not. We are unable to actually be aware of what's in his heart. So when Allah says, فَإِنْ عَلِمْتُمُوهُنَّ مُؤْمِنَاتٍ, if you knew them to be believers, means if you were convinced and confident and thought that they were believers, فَلَا تَرْجِعُوهُنَّ إِلَى الْكُفَّارِ, then do not return them to the blasphemers. Allah ordered the believers to test them because the place of the belief is the heart, which is hidden. The reason for the test is because you cannot know what's in their hearts without a display. And there is no way for the creation to know with certainty what is in the heart. The way to know is by what appears from the tongue and the organs. Hence, the way to know, that's a figurative knowledge concerning us as creations, figurative knowledge. Know here means the way to be confident. And remember, confidence can be called knowledge when it is very strong and has very strong indications, but it's not really knowledge. The way to know is by what appears from the tongue and the organs. Hence, if those women attribute to Allah, ascribe Allah with the status of being the one Lord, and ascribe his Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with being sent with the message, yani they confirm that, it is then obligatory to judge them as believers. It will be obligatory. Like if those women said, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, then what you going to do? It will be obligatory to judge them as believers according to what is apparent. And Allah called that knowledge when He said, فَإِنْ عَلِمْتُمُوهُنَّ مُؤْمِنَاتٍ فَلَا تَرْجِعُوهُنَّ إِلَى الْكُفَّارِ. If you knew them to be believers, then do not return them to the blasphemers. So what's the point of this footnote? To solidify for you that we are in reality unaware of the reality of the hearts. Allah is the one who knows the realities of the hearts. One can only be deemed a blasphemer by what he says or does. Footnote: Ibn Abidin, the Hanafi, said in Raddul Muhtar, its reality is for a word of blasphemy to be made to run over the tongue. Yani that's blasphemy appearing. This is in reference to what is apparent, that by which the judge gives his verdict, or else it could take place otherwise, like if an invalid belief takes place, or occurs, or happens, or to intend to blaspheme after some time. Yes. So, when Ibn Abidin said here, its reality is for a word of blasphemy to be made to run over the tongue, he clarified exactly what he was talking about here, because we know for sure blasphemy is not limited to what runs over the tongue. He clarified what he meant here, that by which the judge gives verdict. Like we said, some other person from the outside is unable to deem someone as a kafir by merely what is in his heart, like the judge. The judge is significant here because he will give a verdict, like to execute someone, for example, or to separate him from his woman, or something else. Or else, yani, without considering this case of someone deeming the other as a kafir, blasphemy could take place otherwise, like if an invalid belief takes place. So it's going to be a kufr in the heart. Or to intend to blaspheme after some time. So that's a blasphemous intention. Al-Tahawi said, rahimahullah, وَلَا نَشْهَدُ عَلَيْهِمْ بِكُفْرٍ وَلَا بِشِرْكٍ وَلَا بِنِفَاقٍ مَا لَمْ يَظْهَرْ مِنْهُمْ شَيْءٌ مِّنْ ذَلِكَ. We do not testify against any of them. We do not testify against any of them that they committed blasphemy, shirk, or hypocrisy. Who are they? Those who ascribe themselves to Islam. Those who are presenting themselves to us as Muslims. We do not testify against any of them that they committed blasphemy, shirk, or hypocrisy, as long as nothing of that sort appeared from them. Footnote: Dirar ibn Amr, a deviated person, he used to not judge the people by their outward situations. That's his bid'ah. He would say, I do not know if the common Muslims are believers or blasphemers. So he's not Sunni. He used to say, perhaps they are all blasphemers and polytheists inwardly. This is against the consensus of Ahlul Sunnah, when they said, we are certain that the Muslims at large are believers and are innocent of polytheism or blasphemy. Yes, this is important though. Didn't I say that Each one of us is just believing that the other one is a Muslim and doesn't know what's in his heart. But we can be sure we do have knowledge, not mere confidence. We do have knowledge that the nation at large are believers. The Muslim nation of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam at large and broadly, not one by one, but the nation at large are indeed believers, and they are clear of polytheism and blasphemy. It is not permissible to say these things about the Muslim, that he's a kafir, without having any proof, because defaming the Muslim with any of these matters without that appearing from him is following the prohibited thought, yani suspicion. The prohibited thought, yani su'ul dhan, suspicion. The bad one though. Allah Ta'ala said, يا أيها الذين آمنوا اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن إن بعض الظن إثم. O those who have believed, refrain from many of the suspicions, or much, refrain from much of these suspicions. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspecting. Don't be thinking ill of the Muslims. Assuming ill of the Muslims. Indeed, some suspicion is certainly sinful. Rather, you think well of the Muslims. And as it is said, you give the Muslims 70 excuses. Yani, whenever you're able to. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. It is said, and this is so important, Shaykh says, Rahimahullah, Man hasuna dhannuh, taba aishuh. Anyone who can think well will live easier. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Because if you can't think well of others, you're suspecting them, you think ill of them, then you're going to be bothered. And you're going to be paranoid. And you're going to be haunted by the devil. Inna ba'da dhanni ithm. Indeed, some suspicion is certainly sinful. Blasphemy of the heart is mentioned in the saying of Allah, fi qulubihim marad. In their hearts is an illness, which is the blasphemy of hypocrisy in particular. This is blasphemy here, this marad in their hearts. So that's blasphemy of the heart. But in the tafsir of this ayah, it is the particular blasphemy of hypocrisy, which is when one knows of himself that he is not a Muslim, but he displays himself as one. Or he knows himself that he is skeptical while he displays himself as faithful, as certain and confident that the religion is right. وَسُبْحَانَ wa bihamdih. Any questions so far? Hesitating about blaspheming is blasphemy. So the hesitation means going back and forth. You're not sure. That's blasphemy. Deciding to blaspheme in the future or making it contingent upon something is immediate blasphemy. You know these cases from the Mukhtasar. Deciding, this means you didn't do it yet. Well, I mean, besides blasphemy, not for blasphemy, for something other than blasphemy, deciding means you want to do it. You didn't do it yet. You didn't settle on it. That's what deciding here. Deciding means you didn't settle on it yet. Meaning you didn't commit to it. You didn't do it. Deciding to blaspheme in the future is immediate blasphemy. It's not going to stall. The blasphemy will not stall. It will occur immediately. Or making it contingent upon something, that means dependent. That means you say, if such and such thing happens, I'll stop being a Muslim. That's blasphemy immediately. The condition doesn't have to take place. Like saying, if I lose my money or if my child dies, I will leave Islam. The opposite of that does not stand, because intending to embrace Islam does not make a person become a Muslim, nor does making someone else embrace Islam make you a Muslim. Yani, this is from Qawaid Muhimma. Intending to embrace Islam will not make a person become a Muslim. Intending to blaspheme will make a person a blasphemer. Intending to embrace Islam will not make a person a Muslim. And making someone else blaspheme will make you blaspheme, but making someone else embrace Islam will not make you embrace Islam. So that's further clarification that committing blasphemy is easier than embracing Islam. We saw that already from the hadith, that paradise is closer to the sandal strap of one of you, and hell is also, the Shaykh told us, this means that attaining paradise is easy and attaining hell is easy, both of them. And then we looked, though, at the conditions of each one, and we found that the easier one is blasphemy. Because embracing Islam, it requires saying coherent statement and believing in it too. Saying a coherent statement and believing in it also, although that's easy, but this is the requirement. Whereas blasphemy doesn't even require a statement. Nor does blasphemy require that you believe in the blasphemy that you did. So it's easier. And we just saw some other cases right now. Faith is only confirmed when associated with certainty. That's what I told you. Certainty is faith. Certitude. And doubt, shak, is contrary to certainty. And neutrality is similar to doubt. So close that some people don't really perceive the difference. Neutrality means you're not taking a position. Doubt means you're not sure. So those are not the same. But both of them are blasphemy. Certitude is faith and doubt is blasphemy. This is proven by this verse. إنما المؤمنون الذين آمنوا بالله ورسوله ثم لم يرتابوا. The believers are only those who believe in Allah and His Messenger, and they do not doubt. So if they doubt it, then what? Then they are not believers. And also, if they didn't believe in the Messenger, then what? Then they are not believers. So this ayah is evidence also that the mere monotheist is not by definition a mu'min. Monotheist means one who believes in the oneness of Allah, whatever name he uses, though. It's not the name here that makes the person a monotheist. His conviction. Did you ever meet a kafir who literally said, I don't think God is like anything? I have. Then he's going to be a muwahhid. But if he doesn't believe in the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then he is not a mu'min. The believers are only, the believers are limited to, in namaz for limitation. The believers are limited to those who believe in Allah and His Messenger. Furthermore, subhanallah, and furthermore, they do not doubt. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Okay. So, here's a footnote. It goes to this sentence. Faith is only confirmed when associated with certainty. and doubt is contrary to certainty. Footnote: there is a difference between uncertainty in belief and uncertainty in sinning. Doubting, hesitating concerning belief, and hesitating concerning a sin. The first case nullifies belief and commits a person to blasphemy, and he makes a person a blasphemer. In the second case, hesitating to sin or not, one does not actually become sinful. He's not even sinful as long as he does not reach azm, a decision. So that's how we're using decision here. Decision to do it. You didn't do it yet. And also there's another thing, which is here in the hadith. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam said, إن الله تجاوز لي عن أمتي ما حدثت به أنفسها ما لم يعملوا أو يتكلموا. For me, Allah has certainly pardoned my nation for that about which their selves chat with them, and for the temptations that cross their minds. Just merely crossing the mind. It's a temptation, though, means the idea has some appeal to it. A bad idea, a sin that has some appeal to it to the person, just this much is not going to make the person a sinner yet. As long as they do not act or speak. So what does this mean? This is important too. Very important. As long as they do not act or speak means as long as you do not react to set the sin in motion. As long as you don't react to set the sin into motion. Yani, crossed your mind. If only crossed your mind, then being tempted alone is not a sin. But when you then reach for the phone, now you got a sin. Or when you then say something, then you got the sin, meaning pertaining to the sin. When you then turn around to take a step, then you got the sin, for example. Or when you stand up, then you got the sin. Talk about it's related to the sin here. Inshallah, that's clear. So it means then, when you get that temptation, don't react. And then, may Allah enable us, then let it pass, inshallah, without falling into it. And as for this ayah, إنما المؤمنون الذين آمنوا بالله ورسوله ثم لم يرتابوا. The believers are limited to those who believe in Allah and His Messenger, and furthermore, they do not doubt. Footnote: thus, since the believer does not doubt, it is not appropriate for the person, for the Muslim, to say, I am a believer if Allah willed. Not appropriate. We didn't say haram. Not appropriate. Don't say it. I am a believer if Allah willed. Rather, he says, I am a believer. And he makes no exception. Exception here means condition or contingency. Without contingency. Without a caveat. I am a believer. However, if he does make an exception, so I feel like the word exception doesn't fit here, but this is a translation. Here they call this, when he says, Insha'Allah, they call that in Arabic istithna. So usually the word istithna gets translated as exception or exclusion, not included. Well, I want to call this a condition, not an exception. So it is not appropriate for the person to say, I am a believer if Allah willed. Rather, he says, I am a believer, and he makes no condition. However, if he does make a condition, meaning his statement, he makes a conditional statement, we do not judge him as having doubted. We're not going to say, you committed kufr because you said, inshallah. This means you doubted. No, we're not going to judge him as a kafir for that, because of merely mentioning the condition. Why? Because that condition is not explicit in meaning doubt. Putting the condition there, I am a believer if Allah willed, is not an explicit doubt. So now, inshallah, also explicit statements and apparent statements of blasphemy is more clear for you. You cannot deem a person as a kafir for a statement that can be taken in more than one way, unless you know that he meant the blasphemous meaning. If someone said, I'm a believer, inshallah, you're going to say, that's not explicit. That's not an explicit statement of being uncertain. It could be that he said it with the meaning of leaving the matter to Allah, the Exalted. Or he might even have a habit of saying, inshallah. Like someone has a habit of saying, wallahi. Also, don't forget, sometimes person have a habit of using profanity. It's going to be like that, like the one who has a habit of saying wallahi. I heard that from Sheikh Muhammad Atrash. When someone asked me a question about the one who says the S word concerning religious material, and also the question involved that the person was upset. So he's talking while he's upset, he says the S word concerning this religious material. They asked me, so I asked the Sheikh, that was Muhammad Atrash. He said, this is like the laghu swear, the voided swear, or the frivolous swear. So that's why I say this, because that's what I heard. So it could be that he said it with the meaning of leaving the matter to Allah, or maybe he even just has a habit of saying inshallah. The Hanafiya, who consider this to be the proper view, the Hanafis, who consider this to be the proper view, that the proper view to them is that you should not say I'm a believer, inshallah, like that's in the Aqidah of an-Nasafi. How do they stay silent about what is in the book Ihya Ulumuddin? That he said, it was narrated in the hadith, whoever says, I am a believer, then he is a blasphemer. And whoever says, I am knowledgeable, then he is ignorant. That's what's in the book Ihya Ulumuddin, this falsehood. This is a falsehood. That anyone who says, I am a believer, then he's a kafir. And anyone who says, I am knowledgeable, then he's jahil. He's ignorant. That's not true. A person might say he's knowledgeable, and it's true. And he might be benefiting others by that. There's no showing off here. That's what Prophet Yusuf did, alayhi salatu wasalam. Didn't he say, Inni hafidhun alim? He said, put me in charge of the treasury. I am a strict guardian and a knowledgeable scholar. And also, the scholars mentioned that when you make tawaf around the Kaaba, better to walk and not ride, but a scholar, he could ride so that the people will be able to see him so they can ask him questions. He's showing, he's making himself available. Take advantage of your teachers while you have them. May Allah enable us. So, The Shaykh listed the doubt in Allah as a sin of the heart. Yani, in his chapter about sins of the heart, he mentions doubting in Allah, that it is a sin of the heart. However, it's a blasphemous sin. It's not a mere sin, because usually when we say sin, it doesn't mean blasphemy, although blasphemy is a sin. His including doubting Allah, doubting in Allah, or doubting about Allah as a sin of the heart is not a denial that is blasphemy. He said it is blasphemy. Even a mere moment of uncertainty is blasphemy. This includes the doubt about or the doubt in his existence, his oneness, his power, his knowledge, his wisdom. His wisdom is his making everything as it is. His justice is doing whatever he wills. And any other attribute, any other necessary attribute, any other necessary attribute. What does necessary mean? Necessary means necessary by the mind. We're not talking about the attributes that a person can only know by hearing them. They don't have the same judgment here. And we spoke about that a few sessions ago. It is absolutely blasphemy if the attribute has intellectual evidence. Yes, that's the same thing. That's what the word necessary here means. Has intellectual evidence. Or else it is blasphemy when one knows the documentary evidence for the attribute. Then it's not necessary. So, okay, it's covered. We don't need the word necessary here. The whole issue is covered. Alhamdulillah. Other blasphemous doubts include doubting about the Quran being revealed to Muhammad or sallallahu alayhi wasallam, or if Judgment Day, paradise, or hell are true, or if there shall be reward, punishment, or other matters upon which there has been scholarly consensus, and are known by necessity. That's from the summary of obligatory knowledge. وَسُبْحَانَ wa وَبِحَمْدِهِ. A second category of essential convictions is that which is not known by necessity. We talked about that. What's that called? Khafi. Hidden. Meaning many Muslims don't know about it. Such as the basin from which the believers shall drink before entering paradise. The mere doubt about it, or whether paradise or hell are presently existing, is not blasphemy. Whether paradise and hell are presently existing, not paradise and hell, just if they're presently existing. The mere doubt about the basin, doubts are in the heart, or the doubt about whether paradise and hell are presently existing is not blasphemy. For not being known by necessity, which means for being khafi. Let's add that just for putting the repetition there. For being khafi, which means not known by necessity, but definitely correct. Matter of consensus. When we say khafi, means it is correct. It is correct. Also, not blasphemy is the involuntary thought that crosses one's mind without his will. That's in summary and in the Sirat. Furthermore, whoever blasphemes and does not immediately say the Shahada to clear that blasphemy increases his blasphemy for accepting blasphemy for himself during that period. And then here's a question. This one actually a question probably has waswas. What's this question here? He's going to say. So then when he says the Shahada, does he have to say another Shahada? What's the case here? A person committed blasphemy, so it needs a Shahada. He didn't say the Shahada immediately, so he increased his blasphemy. So then Someone probably has waswas if he asks this question. So then he needs another shahada? So the answer is no. One shahada erases all blasphemy. I mean, liking, admiring, or judging a blasphemy as good is blasphemy. Wishing for permission to do what is forbidden in all revealed laws is blasphemy. If one knows they were forbidden as such, like wanting the permissibility of fornication, or slaughtering in other than the name of Allah, or consuming blood, or consuming dead meat, or pig meat. That's going to be blasphemy. But not if a person wanted to marry his own sister. That's not blasphemy. If he wished that it was lawful, it's not blasphemy. Because it was lawful in the law of Adam to marry your sister who's not your twin. SubhanAllah. Sheath, he didn't have a twin sister. Who did he marry? I don't know. Noah goes back to Sheath. وَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ وَبِحَمْدِهِ